Day by day, 224. Next one is 323. 323. 323. Verily, verily. 323.
He that believeth on
offering now. Call, would you pray over the offering for us, please, this evening? Lord, we thank you for tonight. Thank you for the blessing it is to gather here together. And Lord, we think of our missionaries. We thank you for God, the privilege that we have to give of what you've given us. Lord, that we can support them. And Lord, I pray that you just use this money to help them with their daily needs. And Lord, that you bless their ministries and you grow their churches and that people can be saved. Thank you, God, for being good to us. May you bless this evening in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. All right, 649, we'll stand for it, please. Please. 649. Yes, we'll stand, please. Thank you, Peter.
'All right, I don't have any prayer cards tonight, so you're going to have to use your memories. God, just remember all the requests that people gave, all the requests. You remember them, Lord. Those. So, all right, who's got some prayer requests tonight?
Ben.
Oh, Ben has a prayer
Yeah,
request.
no, I said you pointed to me for prayer requests, and then he said Ben.
Yes.
So he knew I was gonna say for Ben for his healing.
Right. Yes. Ben didn't have to have surgery yesterday, which is great, because a couple of the doctors thought he'd need to have surgery to fix his broken head. And he decided to split open in a rather vicious way. But thankfully they were able to do it without having to do surgery. So just, healing there would be good. Yeah. Amelia's not here with James. She's not here, is she? No. But the duck song was what he was watching. Now, to distract him. He was actually pretty good, like they both said. And this is the best 2-year-old we've ever had. And the nurse was like, it's his gash, right, on massive big gash on his head, and she's just like pushing and poking, see if they can get it back together. He's looking at her like, what are you doing? But they were gluing it, and she said, oh, it's going to sting a bit when it gets glued. So they ended up gluing it and glued it and taped it, but she held it. She said, it's going to sting when all the glue goes in there. But the duck song, on the duck song it says, the duck walked up, whatever it is. To the 11A and then he says, you got any glue? Right at the same time that she's gluing it, she's like, oh, did you know this? And she's putting it in. She's like, the kids will cry here, and Ben's watching that, and he's like, ha, 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 ha. So I don't know what was going on. I don't know, someone gave him some medication somewhere along the line. Yeah, that was a few hours before. So anyway, so.
It wasn't actually a prayer request, just a thank you for the prayer. And Annalise had her baby last night, our time, and all's mother and son doing well. Rodney Ezra, 8 pounds 8 ounces.
Amen.
Rodney Ezra, 8 pounds 8
Known
on the
as
8th of the
Ezra,
8th.
Apparently, so.
At 8 o'clock in the morning.
8 pounds 8 ounces.
Yeah, so Annalise said that his basketball jersey will be 8 when he's playing 8, 8, 8, and 8. So so a little Rodney Ezra, but known as Ezra. It's like, why don't you just do Ezra Rodney then? If you that girl needs saving. She's getting too much American going on there. Yeah. Well. If she has another one, it'll be Junior or, or the third or whatever they go, all the other ones that they do over there. Yeah. Any other prayer requests? Yeah, that was cheers. There's a couple of photos floating around, so. Hang on, we'll get there in just a minute.
Pray for Sylvan, the man who was
Sylvian,
saved.
yeah.
Who was saved on Monday night. Pray for him, and pray for the other few visitors that we had. Some of them stayed, and then a couple of them had to leave early. But we can get, Naomi has their names here. So John Hansen, Laurie Ori, so that can't be right. Sylvan and Brianna and Sarah, they were the visitors we had. So pray for them. Hopefully we'll see the girls back some stage again, and just the night was a great blessing. Let's just pray that we can continue to reach people.
So very good. Yeah. Sylvian got saved. He's from Mauritius. He's Mauritian. Yeah. Which reminds me, I don't know if I said you before, we have a missionary to Mauritius coming in September at some stage. In fact, the missionary that's to Mauritius has emailed and said if they know anyone, because if they're coming from Queensland, they have to go into quarantine for 2 weeks. And now over here, you don't have to go to a hotel. You can be in someone's house as long as it's on a separate premise. So like a bed and breakfast, not bed and breakfast, Airbnb. No, it can't be in a granny flat. It has to be a separate property. So it's like an Airbnb, not Airbnb, Airbnb or stays or something like that. Or if someone has a beach house or something like that, and they're actually legitimately asking if they know anyone where they could put down, and maybe, so if you know anyone like that.
That family that my mum and dad stay with, when they come over, that Airbnb is a separate.
No, that's a separate dwelling on the same property. I think that actually has to be a separate property. Yeah, my understanding was how I was reading the email. So it can't be like a granny flat, yeah. But yeah, just everyone knows anything. So, Cottle, while you're back, quickly.
This is Mrs. Archer.
You're stealing Mrs. Archer's thunder.
Sorry, I pinched it.
Yeah, pray for Ross. You saw that on the WhatsApp. He ends his job on the 31st. So the bike shop's been sold. Everything has gone very quickly there. We mark and things like that, and then bike shop sold, and 31st is his last day. So pray for him. He goes into uncharted territory again.
Work for the men and the school.
Yes, Lisa and I had a meeting today with the school. Is he a director? What's his title? Dave Stevens. What his title is? Yeah, Christian Schools Australia. So, anyway, he came out and we were running by him what we're trying to achieve and how we're trying to survive. And he liked what we actually presented. He said, actually, I think you guys are definitely on the right direction what you're trying to achieve. And now it's just a matter of trying to achieve that. But anyway, it's given us some contacts, which is good. But I do pray for our school. We've got some more things that are due this Friday as well. So last couple of weeks I've been a bit busy with getting some things together for the DES or DOE or whatever they're called. They keep changing their name. Anyone else with a prayer request? Jackie.
Just wisdom for Tony and I. We got an email the other day from the immigration granting us another 6 months stay. So, well, it's just wisdom, like when you come over in January and you expect to go home in April, there's a lot of unfinished business kind of at home, and there's a lot happening kind of with my mum's property and stuff like that. So it's a difficult one, to know what to do, how long to stay. So it's a blessing, I suppose, in a way, but it's a bit of a head wrecker at the same time. So just wisdom as to know what to do about that.
When's your D-Day?
That a lot, but our D-Day.
Don't you already have booked tickets at the moment, though?
Yeah, the last time we moved it to the 29th, so
Okay,
it's Saturday week.
Yeah.
But it's been looking for a while that wasn't going to happen on that date.
Yeah.
But it is a blessing that the tickets that we booked in, when we were coming over, we can move it
That's right.
at no cost. Once there's flights on a particular day, we can do that.
Good.
So
That's a blessing. Yeah.
anyway, so just if you could keep us in prayer about
For sure.
what to do.
Yep, for sure. Jesse.
Just pray for Mike's wife and his family. They've got the funeral on Monday, and they're in a bit of a state of confusion, and it's a difficult time, isn't it, when somebody dies?
Absolutely.
So just keep them in prayer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Cahill, is that a hand again?
Yeah, I was just reminded of it when my ma was saying there. I have my medical for my visa in 2 weeks' time, and it looks like they're sort of fast tracking stuff at the minute because like visas and stuff, because there's not half the amount of visas.
You've got nothing to do in the offices.
Exactly, yeah. There was actually, like, I've read a few articles. A lot of positive stuff has sort of happened for people who are waiting on partner visas, where they want people in the country because more people working, there's more for the economy and paying taxes and stuff, and if you're on a visa, you don't get benefits either, so you're pretty much just working and paying taxes. So it looks really positive. So, but just pray for I have to do my medical, and then I've got to just get police checks and stuff like that.
Good.
So just pray that it'd be able to move along quickly.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks time.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I think it's 2 weeks. It's the 1st of September or 2nd of September, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah. 2 weeks.
Connor,
from now.
what are you got your permanent residency, right?
Yeah, I have temporary permanent residency. That's what it's called.
Yeah, but that's just for 2 years though.
Yeah.
and then
Just
the
means
next-
your wife can kick you out in the first 2 years.
Yeah.
temporary, yeah. So
yeah.
I'm in on my best behaviour now.
Yeah. So, but
So
you don't
it
have to do
happens in 2
anything.
years.
I understand you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So the
that's
next
just
thing is they say.
you're on probation. Is basically
Yeah.
yeah. It's the same thing when Rhiannon came over. She had 2 years
Yeah.
or 12 months or something. Did you have it as well? Yeah.
You ran out of time, did you?
So
But the other thing is as well is when Connor gets full PR or I get it as well, it'll really help with my mum and dad's situation.
I'm wondering that. Yeah.
Yeah, because even at the moment, if let's say they were to go back, there's under no circumstances they're going to get back in until
12 months.
yeah, or it could be even longer, but until it's open, until the borders open fully. But if your child has permanent residency in the country, then you're actually allowed to apply. So hopefully, hopefully it moves along.
And it's just permanent residency
Yeah,
is all
just
that's required.
Yeah, you don't need to be a citizen.
So
yeah,
that's
just-
fantastic then.
It is.
So
Yeah. So as soon as it all happens, then it'll be yeah.
Can you get dual? Can you get dual citizenship?
Yeah, that's what it'd be.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, if we were going to go for citizenship, but it's a long
yeah,
time away.
so that'd be really good. Like
Yeah.
if they can get their citizenship and they're working on it or their permanent residency,
Yeah.
then Tony and Jackie might have other options open to them. So yeah, good. Any other prayer requests tonight? Lisa.
I just got the results back from the screening that they were doing the other day. So I did test positive for sort of early signs of preeclampsia. At the moment, it's all fine, but just prayer that it doesn't develop. They're just monitoring me more closely now. So hopefully that's all it will be and everything will still go to plan. But yeah, I don't know. So just prayer that I don't develop it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's a bit not very nice to think
Right,
of.
yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Pray for Lisa. Pray for Kimmy. We prayed for Owen last week. How did Owen's appointment go? All right. Not us, Clayton. He's come off night shift.
He's been awake for a while. Owen's appointment went, I don't know, fairly well. Like the doctor was very thorough, and that's like all we could ask for, really. We're sort of still stuck in his situation where we're just having to monitor him all the time. He has to get more tests done, and he's seeing the endocrinologist in a few months. So hopefully we'll get a few more answers there. But whether it's the thyroid, sort of still, he'll either need thyroxine or the thyroid will completely heal. She's concerned about his weight. So that was sort of the main thing out of that. He's going to go on like a supplement or something like that as well to help sort of boost up his weight.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thank you for your prayers. But yeah, if we
All
could
right.
just sort of keep him
For sure.
in your prayers because he does struggle a lot and it's tough on him.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other prayer requests? Oh, down here, Connor.
Away with Michelle and Kerry this weekend, so just that we can be a blessing to them and
Yeah.
and just encourage Kerry to
Yeah, for
stay on
sure.
the right path. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And encourage Michelle as well. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's not an easy situation to be in when you're really the only one that's really desiring to serve God and you live a distance from the house of God as well. So, yeah. All right, great. Have a great weekend. Remember this weekend as well for us here, Brother Mel will be with us and Kylie, his wife, and I think Noah will be, is it Noah? Yeah, Noah will be here as well. So looking forward to having them on Sunday morning, Sunday night, Brother Blue's preaching, and looking forward to that as well. So be choir after services tonight as well. Is that right, Connor? Yep, you mentioned that. All right, Psalm 137. Psalm 137. Psalm 137. Cue the Boney M jokes. No, I do not want you to press play. Someone, this is an honest truth, this is not me, someone, and I think they are of Irish descent, and it's maybe in the last 5 or 6 years, so that broadens it to 5 or 6 different Irish descent people. On my Bible, they have vandalized it by putting musical notes by verse 1 of 137 verse 1. And they got musical notes next to it. I don't know which one did it, and I don't. I just opened my Bible one day, and I did not put that there. I know my notes. Do you have it in yours? Okay. Dad, did you put it in yours? Did you put it in mine? Yeah. It's been in mine a long time. It's not in yours? Kyle? I didn't put it in my Bible. I don't, anyway, I don't. They are, yes. But the thing, I'll get the Boney M thing out the way right now. What I don't like is and that's why I read that, is that I try and read this without connecting it to Boney M. I don't want it connected to Boney M. I don't want Rastafarians or whatever they're singing about, which is why they sing about a Rastafarian version of this song. I don't want that. I don't want. It's why we don't sing that song in church. You say, well, it's the psalm, so it must be right. It's the message and the method must be in harmony. You know, you don't want the wrong method conveying a right message. You need a message, a method that is as holy as the message that it is conveying. And I don't want. It's the same thing as is it the birds that sing turn, 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 to everything there is a season, turn, 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 to everything there is a time. Is that the birds? Am I that's like from the 60s, folks. Anyway, it's the same thing. You say, oh, that's Ecclesiastes chapter number 3. But the message and the method needs to be the same. It's one of the reasons why I despise Hillsong. It's because, sure, they're singing about God, but the method is such a worldly, fleshly method. And I want a holy method that is attached to the holy message. And anyway, I've been thinking about that. Well, probably all week, to be honest, as I've been knowing this psalm's coming up. We joke about it, and it's there. It's what people associate with it. We're going to go beyond that today. And now that we've said it, we've stated it, we've had our laugh, we've got it out the way. Please don't mention Boney M again to me tonight, otherwise I may take this apart and get the screen turned off for just a moment. No. But all right, Psalm 137. Psalm 137. Verse 1 says, by the rivers of Babylon, there, yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hanged our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For there they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required of us mirth, saying, sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my right hand forget her cunning. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I prefer not Jerusalem above my chief joy. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom in this day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it even to the foundation thereof. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed, happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. Interesting chapter, it really is. Thoughts, comments, feedback. Cornelius.
Okay. I think the Israelites are remembering how good they had it before they went into Babylonian captivity. And that's why they're saying, by the rivers of Babylon, where we sat down, yes, we wept when we remembered Zion. So remember back when they were in Zion, how good it was. And now they're looking at Babylon. It's like, hold up, wait a minute, we had a good day. And then in the latter part of the psalm is saying, happy shall we be to take it and dash his little ones against the stone. They don't want their kids to be raised in Babylon, like the kids become Babylonians and fall into their ways. So they're saying, hopefully their kids die. That's what I'm trying to say. Hopefully the kids die, that they don't be raised in Babylonian captivity as well and have the Babylonian ways. Thank you.
Yeah, in captivity because they, for 70 years, because they didn't keep the 70 Sabbaths of the land. And that's why God used the Babylonian Empire to take them into captivity so they could learn the lesson.
Yeah. Yep. We're going to look at that as well. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts on the left-hand side? My left before Connor's gone. All right. Right-hand side. Back.
Just thought it's actually a really, really sad psalm if you think about what's happening. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. And it's like Israel were a beautiful thing in the eyes of God and a beautiful thing in the eyes of all the nations at one stage when they followed God and they obeyed God. And everybody looked at them, and even in the time of Solomon and in the time of David, they thought, this is an amazing place. Look at these people. And they were a beautiful sight to behold. But when they turned away from God, everything changed. And that's where they are. They've just turned their back on God. And it's like a Christian who maybe was in church at one stage and was serving God and had the blessings of God in their life. And then they've gone and they've turned back to the world, or they've gone away and they're just living in sin. You can just imagine them at times like weeping on their own and just being sad, looking back at what they once had, all the blessings that they had that they didn't realize how great they were at the time. But they're looking back at what God had given them and God had blessed them with, and they're just sad about it. It's just a devastation of sin.
Yes.
And just looking at how sin has just destroyed everything that God gave them. And as well, that the fact that sin takes away your song. Like it takes away your song. You don't have any reason to sing when when you've got sin in your life and you're experiencing the punishment of sin or the judgment of sin. But it's even they say like let my hands forget how to play the harp and let my tongue forget how to sing, because it's just so bad, the situation. It's a really sad psalm.
Yeah.
I find that every time I read it.
Yeah. It's that's a really good thought for Psalm 137. Sin takes away your song. That's a good way of summing up Psalm 137. How can we sing? Misery. In fact, we're going to look at that tonight as well. Sin takes away your song. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, just verse 9. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. And I had to think about that. And I went to Isaiah chapter 13, and it says it's all talking about the Medes, and saying in verse 15, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished. Behold, I stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Then he goes on to say, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So even though God uses Babylon to deal with the Jews and the nation of Israel, God then comes back and deals with the nation of Babylon and the Medes.
Yeah, which is prophesied in Jeremiah as well and Isaiah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Cockle was saying, is they had it so good, and they never knew they had it so good. They always whinge and complain. I admire Moses. I'm reading the book of Leviticus right now, and man, I'd have stabbed myself in the heart They just frustrated me, man. Every time they had it good, they complained. Oh, you let us leave Egypt, and now we out in the desert. We're gonna die, and God gave them manna from heaven. They still complain, it frustrates you, man.
Yeah.
That these people had it so good, and they were mighty people, and they didn't know how mighty they were, and they just Egypt. We came in the desert to die, and you left us out here to die, and they got bread from heaven, and they still complain, and God bring fire down on them and kill some of them, they still complain. It's like, hold up, wait a minute, man. You're a great nation. Can't you see the greatness of God in your life? And it's like us in our Christian walk. We can't see the greatness of God. We whinge and complain when someone dies or what have you. Money's a bit funny. We complain. But God has always provided for us. It's like the Israelites, They had it good.
Yeah. When it's taken away.
Yeah.
And you realise, and that's, again, we'll tie into that as well, just a little bit as well. Thoughts that will travel here.
No, I just thought of something there when I was reading the Psalm again. The fact that they're looking back at the life that they once had, and I remember Jamie, who was over here. Most people know Jamie.
Did he write in my Bible?
Yeah, it was him, definitely. Yeah, 100%. No, when he was over here, he didn't really understand how good he had it, and when he went back to Ireland and he went back to his sin, and he was again had done some things that he was ashamed of, and he was looking at going to prison, and he was talking to me on the phone, and he was very upset on the phone, and he said to me that he looked at the youth camp video. And he said he was looking on the website and he was looking at the youth camp video and he remembered being at youth camp. And he said he bawled his eyes out crying, thinking, man, what did I do with the opportunity that I had to serve God and how good things were. But when he was here, all he could talk about was going back to Ireland. I want to go back to Ireland. I want to go back to Ireland. But then it was afterwards, it was this sadness. And honestly, I couldn't help but cry when I was on the phone to him as well, It's just sad. Very, very sad.
That's a very applicable illustration of this. Any other thoughts? Connor's going to finish it off. When Connor gives, that's it. That's done.
Yeah, no, just what Cottle was saying about their song being taken away because of sin. That was a big thing that I saw in this sermon. But also as well, just on a side note, is that I wrote down in the margin of my Bible is that they sung they couldn't sing because their land was taken away from them, and they were out of their land. They were separated and they wept and they were like in a sadness. But if we think about it, like because of what Christ did for us, we can sing constantly. We can sing constantly when we're right, when we can sing constantly because our land is not here. Our land is always there for us. Heaven is always there for us because of what Christ did for us. And we can look forward to going there, and we don't have to worry about our land being taken away from us or anything like that. But we can look forward to that and actually sing about that and rejoice because of that.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking that's just
All right. Good. Psalm 137 here. It is interesting. I was reading it thinking, all right, again, knowing the song and knowing about it, saying, what, I've never actually stopped and looked at the chapter for what the chapter is, rather than just knowing some phrases or some choruses out of this particular chapter. But it is interesting. It ties in with Jeremiah, because Jeremiah is right at that same time. Jeremiah prophesied about the captivity. It happened when he was prophesying. They were taken into captivity when Jeremiah was still preaching. Ezekiel is one that also is a contemporary of this particular time. In fact, Ezekiel chapter 1 verse 1 starts out by saying that he is by the river Kedar. Sheba, Kedar. Now it came to pass in the 30th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river Kebar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. So he is there by the river. That's what the captives were, in that river Kebar, right there in Tel Aviv, their lower part of Babylon, one of the outer places of the city of Babylon. He says that's where they were. That's where the captives were. They were in that a large Jewish portion in that particular area by the river. There they have to lament, and there they have to stop and think and consider. This is not home. And the glories of Jerusalem and the glories of the temple. And if you read the book of Jeremiah, they couldn't, in the lead up to it, they could not fathom that God would destroy the temple, Solomon's temple. The greatest of temples, all the temples that have come after it, didn't really compare to what Solomon built in the gold and the glory and the majesty and everything about it. And the city had been built up from David, what David did to the city, to what Solomon added to the city, to what Hezekiah did to the city. All these big kings that did great works, and it was a wonderful, wonderful city, and they just couldn't fathom that this wouldn't be here. And now the Babylonians come along, and out of their just ungodliness destroy the place, and now they're lamenting, as has been mentioned, they're lamenting of what they had and now what they don't have because of sin. Now sin will always do that. There are people that have gone and committed sin, and they have committed adultery, and their marriage has collapsed, and then they're on the other side of their sin, and they're reminiscing about when their marriage was good. And when all of a sudden the problems that were in the marriage there on the other side of sin, realized, man, those weren't really the big problems, and I wish I could go back to those times, and I wish I could undo what has been done as I sit here in the scorched ruins of a destroyed life. And he says, how can you sing? How can you have joy under such conditions? And there are others as well. Jamie is a wonderful story. I would say testimony. It's not so much a testimony, but it is. He was here. He went to youth camp. He had the joy of youth camp and the video that is there. And he kept wanting to go back. He went back. And now, is he in prison? Is he out of prison? He's in prison today. And he looks at those videos of youth camp, of the year that he was there, and all the memories, and the beach, and the sunshine, and the fun, and the activities, and the food, and all of that. And he goes, man, I'm sitting in prison. I look at this time and think, I had it good, and I have sinned, and my sin has caused me to have great pain and regret. That's their pain and their horror and their agony and the anguish of their hearts. And here is their tormentors, their captors, saying, oh, just sing us one of those temple songs. Sing us one of those hymns that you used to sing around the temple. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's like, it's like saying the person who got divorced, sing us the song that you danced, the first dance to with your wife. Oh. We can't do that. I can't. I'm going to hang my willow. I'm going to put the guitar down. I'm not going to. I can't. It's not in me to be able to sing that because of where I am now. That's what we're saying. So we have great regret over what has happened and where we are now, and great heartache and great hurt. And he says in verse 5, I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my hand forget. If I forget thee, O Jerusalem, let my hand forget the cunning. Look at Jeremiah 25. Jeremiah 25. And Jeremiah prophesied this very thing. It's not unexpected. They shouldn't be sitting there going, I didn't know this was going to happen. I didn't know this was going to be the result. Jeremiah 25 and verse number 8 to verse number 11 says this, Therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, because ye have not heard my words, behold, this is verse 9 of Jeremiah 25, Behold, I will send and take all the families of the north, saith the Lord, and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and will bring them against this land, and against the inhabitants thereof, and against all these nations round about, and I will utterly destroy them, and make them an astonishment, and an hissing, and a perpetual desolation. Moreover, look at this, moreover, I will take from them the voice of mirth, and the voice of gladness, and the voice of the bridegroom, and the voice of the bride, the sound of millstones, and the light of the candle. He says, this city, the city of joy, is going to fall into silence. And the streets are not going to be filled with the procession of a wedding, with the dancing and the music and the festivals of the temple and the feast days that were filled with the temple musicians and the musical instruments of David and Solomon and those songs and all the noise and the joy in the streets. He says, this is going to fall silent. There is an old country song I've never heard, but there are lyrics in it that says, there is nothing as cold as ashes after the fire's gone. To come to a fire and to see it, you know at this time of year, to maybe your fire, it's gone out over the night, there's a coldness there, and the singer says, there's nothing as cold as ashes after the fire is gone. How much it warmed you before, and now it's just a coldness and a deadness. And that's how they were going to have in their hearts this once that burned with the fervor and love of Jerusalem and the temple and the things of God. God was going to take away their mirth and the voice of gladness. And I wonder if this can be preached again and again and again, and generations rise up in the house of God, and the warnings of the word of God sound forth that sin has a consequence, and the consequence is a removal of mirth and joy and the judgment of God, and people say amen, and they walk out the doors, and they sin, and they get themselves in all kinds of problems, and they say, man, the preacher was right. The word of God is right, it stands true, it stands firm. They did the same thing. Jeremiah stood up and said, he's going to take away your mirth. He's going to take away your joy. He's going to take away your ability to enjoy life like you once did, and you're going to look back on the other side and say, man, those days were good, but now just thinking about those days hurts my heart. He says that's the consequence of sin. It's what Lamentations is about, the lamenting when the enemy prevails. That's what Lamentations is about. And you might think that this song is a dirge. It's a sad note. But there's joy in this song, in Psalm 135. Because they're prophesying in that, saying, well, the enemy that has destroyed us ultimately will be destroyed. And God prophesies that Nebuchadnezzar, my servant, he calls him in Jeremiah, that he ultimately is going to be judged by God. God is going to bring judgment on him. And in one night, all of the glories of Babylon are going to come crashing down by the Medes, and their little ones will be dashed against the stones. And they were died that night when the Medes came in and defeated Babylon in one night, history tells us, and the Word of God records. Now, look over a couple of pages to Jeremiah 33. He prophesied those things. There's something else that's prophesied, that Jeremiah prophesies. He says, your sin is going to cause great heartache and hurt and misery, and your joy is going to be gone, and your song is going to be gone, because sin removes your song. But this is God. This is the God we serve. Because look at chapter 33. Now, out of 33, most people just look at verse 3 and they go into all wonderful different directions about call unto me and I will answer thee and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. Do you know what he is going to show them that is great and mighty that Jeremiah hasn't even considered at this particular low point in his life? Well, let's read the rest of the chapter. Let's read from verse 7 and see this great and wonderful and mighty thing that Jeremiah is not even considering at this incredibly low point in the nation of Israel because of their sin. Verse 7 says, and I will cause the captivity of Judah and the captivity of Israel to return, and I will build them as at the first. And I will cleanse them from all their iniquities, whereby they have sinned against me, and I will pardon all their iniquities whereby they have sinned, and whereby they have transgressed against me. And it shall be to me a name of joy, a praise, and an honour before all the nations of the earth, which shall hear all the good that I do unto them, and they shall fear and tremble for all the goodness and for all the prosperity that I procure unto it. Thus saith the Lord. That's what God says. He says, again, there shall be heard in this place, which ye say shall be desolate without man and without beast, even in the cities of Judah, in the streets of Jerusalem, and are desolate without man, without inhabitants, and without beast. He says, in these places, the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the voice of them all, they're going to be heard again in the city of Jerusalem. He says, your sin, I have judged you for your sin, but know this, I will turn your captivity and I will restore you back. And there is going to be great singing and joy where once there was a period of time where your song had been removed. Now, look at this and see if you can connect this into our Psalms. And all of the voices, them shall say, praise the Lord of hosts, for the Lord is good, for his mercy endureth forever. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, the very psalm from last week, 136 and 137, you're acknowledging, sure, we're knuckleheads. We've sinned against God, and our sin against God has caused great hurt and heartache in my life. And yet we can acknowledge, when we turn back to God, God is ever merciful. And he can restore the song that has been lost. And they never wanted to sing anymore. They never wanted to sing the joy and the praise and the goodness of God. They said, no, these things only remind us of terrible things and hurtful things. God says, right, but my mercy can step in and get you to a place where your song is restored. And where the bridegroom and the voice of the bride and the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the singers and the voice of the praise to God can resound again. Remember, revive us again. Chords that are broken will vibrate once more. God has an ability to take away a person's song through his judgment. But know this also, God has the ability to put song back into the very man that he took the song away from. That's the mercy of God. That's the mercy of God. And so those that walk away from God in this life and they think, man, my life is a ruin because of my life. And we mentioned Jamie because he's mentioned. But you know what? His life doesn't have to be, that's the end of the story. Because the mercy of God says, I can put a song back in Jamie's life. And he might be in prison today, regretting the time that he wasn't in prison and he had good times with God here. But there can still be a time in his life where he says, you know what? That's done and in the past. God has restored my song. God has made my chords to vibrate once more. And God brings the judgment upon the enemy, which sin and Babylon. And I could tie this in as a prophetic. There's three ways. Remember 3 ways to looking at the Psalms in the Bible? There is looking at the Bible in 3D. Past, present, and future. So that you can look at it, the past, the history, historical, there is a present application, and there is a prophetic look. So we know the history, we can look back and see what happened to Israel and Babylon. We can say the practical, what we just did then, and say, right, God restores the song. He takes away a person's song, sin removes the song, but God can put the song back in and strike those chords back up again. And prophetically, go to Revelation, we'll quit here. Go to Revelation really quick. Chapter number 18. Do you know what's in Revelation 18? Babylon, mystery Babylon, Babylon the Great. Now, I've heard some bad application that attributed mystery Babylon to the United States of America. That's an American doctrine if you didn't know that. I do not believe that the United States is mystery Babylon. I think if you just read it, you'll see that it's not saying that. But look at verse 16 of chapter 18. Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. Now what happened to the original Babylon? How quickly was it destroyed? One night. It happened from a Tuesday from a Tuesday it was glorious and splendid, and the very next day on a Wednesday, if that's what it was destroyed. and their children were destroyed, and the city was overrun in one night. He's saying this mystery Babylon, which is mentioned here, in 1 hour so great riches has come to naught. And every shipmaster and all the companies and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? That's what they said about the original Babylon. The hanging gardens of Babylon and all the splendor. God even called Nebuchadnezzar the king of gold, the head of gold. And they shall cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour she is made desolate. Rejoice over her. Who? Thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. Which is how Psalm 137 finishes. But that Babylon is going to be destroyed and her children dashed to pieces. There is going to be judgment upon Babylon, which is then played out here prophetically. And it says, rejoice over her, for God hath avenged you. The mighty angel took a stone, like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. The voice of the harpers and musicians, and of the pipers, and of the trumpets shall be heard no more at all in thee. God says, right, this is what you did to the holy people. This is what I'm going to do to you. The judgment is going to be like Sodom and Gomorrah, like Babylon. There's going to be a complete annihilation, and their music and their song and their mirth is going to come to an end. That's a prophetic look of Psalm 137. The voice of the harpers and the musicians and of the pipers and the trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. No craftsman or whatsoever crafty is shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of the millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. That's what Jeremiah makes mention of about the millstone. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. That's from Jeremiah. And the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee, for thy merchants, which were great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that was slain upon the earth. That's what that verse very there says. That is why it's not America. This mystery Babylon has to do with a system, has to do with the ungodly system that has been at war with the holy seed. And God says, I am going to bring about ultimate judgment upon that mystery Babylon, the enemy of the holy people, and they will be destroyed. And God will restore the song to the holy people, but the mystery Babylon, the one who persecuted the prophets and the saints, he says, they shall be destroyed. God is going to right the wrong like he did before. And he judged Nebuchadnezzar and the wicked system of the devil and all that is tied up in that prophetically, God will set right. And the city of joy, Jerusalem, shall be forevermore, and the kingdom of the devil and all of the ugliness that is there, God will put that down. And so there is a way of looking at Psalm 137 that is historical, one that is practical for us today, and also there is prophecy in it. There's prophecy about the city of Babylon that ties all the way through Jeremiah, Isaiah, and right on to the book of Revelation. So don't just think about some little catchy tune on the radio that came out in 1978. There is a lot more to this that is worth our time and worth our attention. Let's leave off there, shall we, tonight? And let's have a word of